Hey, Matt.
Okay, I
Yeah.
think the Lupe might be a few minutes late.
It
Yeah,
has. It has.
I was looking forward to
beginning.
it for a year, and then I started thinking, oh my God, there's going to be a big friends.
Oh,
Oh,
what's the
ouch.
fun in that?
What's happening? So
Do you have a good one?
Good evening. Welcome to the March 27th, 2023 Rental Housing Committee meeting. For those joining us in person, please note that due to our hybrid environment, audio and video recordings can no longer be shared from the lectern. Requests to share an audio or video presentation during a rental housing committee meeting should be directed to myrent@mountainview.gov by 4:30 p.m. on the meeting date. Additionally, due to our hybrid environment, we will no longer have speakers line up to speak on an item. Anyone wishing to address the committee in person will complete a green speaker card. Please indicate the name you would like to be called by when it's your turn to speak and the item number on which you wish to speak. Please complete one speaker card for each item in which you wish to speak and turn them in to city staff as soon as possible, but no later than the public comment section for the item you wish to speak. Instructions for addressing the committee virtually can be found on the posted agenda. The meeting is called to order at 7:04 p.m. Now I will proceed with roll call. Andrea?
All right, we'll begin with Committee Member Grunwald.
here.
Committee Member Pardo Dizella is absent. Vice Chair Rosas.
Present.
Chair Almond.
Here.
Thank you.
We will now move to agenda item 3, presentation. This item is for the recognition of service by departing Rental Housing Committee members Susan Almond, Matthew Grunwald, Nicole Haynes-Lifsey, Julian Pardo Dizella, and Emily Ramos. Please note, this is a presentation only and the committee will not take any action. Public comment will occur after the presentation item. If you'd like to speak on this item in person, please submit a speaker card to city staff now. Should I go ahead? 5 of our rental housing committee members are leaving the committee. 2 left earlier this year, and for the 3 members tonight it is the last RHC meeting. Being a part of this committee requires time, effort, and leadership. We would like to thank Matt, Emily, Julian, Nicole, and Susan for their hard work, dedication, and positive contributions to our community. These members, 3 of which have been involved with the committee since the start of implementation of CISFRA in April of 2017, have accomplished an impressive amount. Together, we have established the framework for 2 rent stabilization laws, CISFRA, and more recently, the Mobile Home Rent Stabilization Ordinance. This resulted in the creation and adoption of a total of 12 chapters of rules and regulations for the administration and enforcement of the CISFRA and MHRSO. The rules and regulations provide the policy direction for staff on how to implement the laws. Recently, these committee members developed regulations regarding compliance and enforcement of those laws. This is highly technical and challenging work that requires deep scrutiny of policy options. Staff would like to recognize and celebrate the outgoing committee members' dedication, commitment, and wealth of achievement. Thank you again for your service to the Mountain View community through your time on the Rental Housing Committee. We wish you every success in your next endeavors. Oh, and there we are. There's our picture. That was a long time ago. Okay, and we have certificates for each of the outgoing members. And first, I'd like to give one to Matt Grunwald. Matt and I have served together for the last 4 years, sometimes on opposite sides of issues, but I think we always were cordial and we always respected one another, and I'm really pleased to have served with you. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.
You want to say a few words?
Yeah, I'll say, yes, just want to echo what you said. I mean, I think throughout the Rental Housing Committee, we've worked together, and I think found a lot of compromise. I didn't realize we'd written 12 chapters, over that period of time. Yeah, there was a lot of big thorny issues that I think we figured out. And for me personally, this was my first committee appointment, and first time serving on a committee. I learned a lot about how city government works and just how meetings are conducted, in addition to a lot about the CSFRA. And I just wanted to also thank staff and city staff and our legal staff, in writing those 12 chapters. They did the lion's share of that work and really helped guide us through this process. So it's been very educational 6 years for me, and I really appreciate everyone involved.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Guadalupe, and I would also like to recognize Susan Allman for all the hard work she's done for us, for the community, and all the years she's served as a committee member and as a chair. I've learned a lot from her. So I am very, very grateful for you. And I guess we do have a certificate for you to give to you. Okay. You definitely stepped up when we needed you to step up. So this is for you. I want to thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you so much, Guadalupe. The committee has really evolved a lot in the 4 years that I've been on it. It's amazing what changes have taken place and how much work we've done. I'm so proud of the work we've accomplished in over 5 years. I'm especially thrilled that we finally were able to include mobile home residents for their much deserved rent stabilization. Some of the things I'm proudest of were internal changes. During my time as chair, we were able to do a team building workshop that allowed our diverse committee to function much more cohesively. Also, I insisted on including the vice chair in all planning meetings, so when they become chair, they're fully up to speed. And I was so impressed with our growth in the last few years, especially during the pandemic. Our staff recognized our community needs and quickly responded with vital services. I want to thank Anki for her incredible leadership, as well as Karen, Patricia, and Andrea. Thousands of Mountain View residents have benefited, and I am forever in your debt because of your guidance. Excuse me for getting emotional. But most importantly, I believe I helped bring balance to our discussions. Many times there were few tenants who spoke during public comment, so I made sure to advocate for the vulnerable and made sure their voices were heard through mine. Thank you so much. It's been quite a long journey, and I learned a lot because my learning curve was huge coming in as an activist and learning to deal with the hearing process and as well as the pandemic, but also the push and pull of different community members. It's been a great growth experience. Thank you. So now we move to questions and comments from committee members. Since there are no more comments or questions, I now invite public comment. In-person public will be called to speak first. Any of the public wishing to provide virtual comment on this item, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. Staff will display a countdown timer on the screen.
Thank you. I will go ahead and ask Alex Brown to unmute himself.
Hey friends, sorry I can't be there in person. I am sick and I didn't want to infect any of you lovely people. But Susan, I'm sad that we can't work on the same body. Matt, I also would have enjoyed working with you. I mean, it's been fun. I feel like we have actually kind of worked together over the last few years in our own way. I'm excited to take your spot as the alternate. I think it's gonna be fun. Hopefully you'll come and give comment to me. I'm sure that these issues are not going to go away. Things are not going to get simpler. That's where the fun is. Anyway, we had some good folks, and I'm looking forward to the next batch. That's it. I got nothing. I'm sick. I feel terrible. But I couldn't miss this. Love you guys.
Thank you, Alex. I've loved working with you.
Thank you. I'll now ask Edie Keating to unmute herself.
Hello. So I would also like to thank the outgoing members. And I, like Alex, feel I've gotten to know you. It's a strange way to get to know you with a formal meeting being the venue for that. And I appreciate the work that the current RHC has gotten done. And so thank you to Matt and thank you to Susan and thank you to Guadalupe for staying on. Good night.
Thank you, Edie.
There are no more speakers.
We'll move on to the consent calendar. These items will be approved by one motion unless any member of the committee wishes to remove an item for discussion. The purpose of the consent calendar is for the committee to efficiently and quickly consider routine or administrative business items with one motion. Although committee members may remove items, it is generally not intended for the committee to have a lengthy substantive discussion on consent calendar items. Public comment will occur after the discussion. If you would like to speak on this item in person, please submit a speaker card to city staff now. Would any member of the committee like to pull an item? Nobody's, okay. So I can invite public, but we don't have anything on the calendar, do we? Do we? Oh, the minutes, okay. So, sorry. So any member of the public wishing to provide a virtual comment on this item, please click the raised hand item in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. Staff will display a countdown timer on the screen. I guess we have to move on from that. Now bring the item back for committee action. A motion to approve the consent calendar should include reading the title of the agenda item 4.1. Do you want to call it? Go ahead. A motion to approve agenda item 1, approve the minutes for January 31st, 2023 RHC meeting.
I motion to approve the minutes for our HC meeting on January 31st, 2023.
I'll second.
You want to call the roll?
I'll start with committee member Grunwald,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rosas,
Aye.
Chair Almond.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
We will now open the meeting for oral communication from the public. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the committee on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are allowed to speak on any topic for up to 3 minutes during this section. State law prohibits the committee from acting on non-agenda items. Would any member of the public like to provide comment on non-agenda items? If you would like to speak on this item in person, please submit a speaker card to city staff now. In-person public comments will be called to speak first. Any member of the public wishing to provide a virtual comment on this item, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. Staff will display a countdown timer on the screen.
Now I'll ask Stephen Goldstein to unmute himself.
Am I muted?
Yes,
You mean, you can hear me now?
we can hear you.
Okay. I'm sorry to be a downer for this meeting, but I've learned that unfortunately, since my apartment landlord knew 6 months prior to buying the property that the apartment was actually not in compliance with the land zone, that he actually was operating an illegal apartment. And I've notified the city council and the RHC last month about it. And in the meantime, I've actually gone on a rent strike and I've not been paying my rent. And now I've learned that my apartment landlord is now seeking to sell the building. And I'm trying to make it sure that what's going to happen in the future is that as long as this building is still not in conformance with the proper land zone, which would be an R4, that the apartment cannot be sold as an apartment building and cannot be operated as an apartment building because it would be in violation of the land planning zone requirements that would be required to be in compliance to have a certificate of occupancy. I suspect what has happened is that when I notified the city about this. The city group finally turned around and said to the owner that either we work on getting this zone rezoned, or you're going to have to cease operations. And more importantly, all the rental contracts that he had implemented when he had prior knowledge, which I was able to prove through court records dating back prior to the rental agreement, that in fact the rental agreements were illegal. And what I'm saying is that as an RHC, there was so much pushback against me regarding this issue from the RHC by saying, oh, we don't want to deal with this. Actually, the real problem is, as the CSFRA stated, if it is an unlawful rent, it's an unlawful rent. And it wouldn't matter if it is because of what is specifically said in the CSFRA regarding the laws, or anything else in that matter. And now it appears that I'm now going to have to now push the new RHC to establish a new regulation that says that if a apartment is proven to be disqualified by non-compliance of the certificate of occupancy, that they are by default, unfortunately, going to have to either instruct the landlord to remedy it, or they're going to have to comply with any reasonable requests that were done here. In any event, what's going on now is that, again, my landlord is now selling the apartment, and he's trying to sell as an operating unit, but I'm saying that it is not legal. And I think at this point in time, it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
There are no more speakers.
Okay, and we have no appeal hearing and no public hearing. So we'll move on to new business. Quarterly financial expenditures, fiscal year 2022 to 2023 through December 31st, 2022. We'll begin with a presentation from staff. Public comment will occur after the presentation item. If you would like to speak on this item in person, please submit a speaker card to city staff now.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair and members of the Rental Housing Committee. As we do every quarter, we give you an overview of the financial expenditures. This presentation runs through December the 31st, 2022. The purpose of this agenda item is to review the quarterly financial expenditures report from both the CSFRA and the MHRSO until December 31st, 2022. As a reminder, the Rental Housing Committee adopted the mobile home rent stabilization budget on April 25, 2022 for a total of $641,825. And on June the 20th onto 2022, the Rental Housing Committee also adopted a budget for the CSFRA for $2,349,901. Rental Housing Committee has requested from staff to present on a quarterly basis this overview of expenditures of the CSFRA and the MHRSO budgets. We report on the key categories of each of the budgets: personnel services, non-personnel services, capital outlay, and interfund expenditures. First, we're looking at the CSFRA budget, and per December 31st, 40.2 was expended. This is below budget due to salary savings due to the vacancy of an outreach specialist that we are currently filling with an hourly employee who can only work certain hours per year. And for work performed for and charged at other cost centers, for work performed under the Tenant Relocation Assistance Ordinance and various other requested services outside of the CSFRA program, such as BMR and affordable housing inquiries. The second category is non-personal services. Per end of December, 38 0.91% was expended and a further 53.3% encumbered. This is also below budget due to certain service providers billing late and certain quarter two invoices might be charged in the third or fourth quarter of this fiscal year. Also, fewer than anticipated number of petitions are being filed, resulting in less costs for hearing officers and facilitator fees. The third key category is capital outlay. To date, 4.48% is expended and a further 16.33 is encumbered. This is mainly for further costs with regards to our database development. This is below budget due to waiting for further deliverables upon completion of the next phases of the database management system, hopefully to be finalized in following quarters. So the last category is the interfund expenditures and transfers. As previously indicated, the interfund expenditures and transfer budget usually is getting charged by the end of December. So 100% of this is currently expended. These are the city charges for services delivered by the city to the CSFRA. So as compared to the whole budget of the CSFRA, 54% of the budget is not yet expended. 20% is expended for personnel, 12% for non-personnel, and 14% for the interfund charges. The budget remaining is $1,150,484. Then we go to the MHRSO budget. As mentioned before, we have personnel services, non-personnel services, and interfund expenditures. Currently, 43.46% is expended, also below budget, due to work performed for and charged to other cost centers outside of the MHRSO program, such as assistance with the CSFRA, as well as BMR and affordable housing inquiries. For non-personnel services, 12.54% is expended and a further 50.61% encumbered. Again, for service providers billing in a later quarter than the services that have been provided, and fewer than anticipated petitions have been filed, resulted in less than budgeted hearing officer and facilitator fees. As a side note, currently one petition is filed for the MHRSO and is in the process. 100% of the interfund expenditures has been expended by December 31st, and a cost of $50,010 have been charged. These were expended and charged at the end of December. Looking at the whole MHRSO budget, 53% of interfund charges have been posted. This number is so large and this budget looks a little bit different than in coming years because we are paying back the funds that were advanced by the city to us in the last fiscal year. We spent 31% on personnel, 14% on personnel, and the budget remaining is 31%. So the fiscal year budgets and the revenues are estimated to be sufficient to fund all the expenditures for the rest of this fiscal year. We will be returning to the Rental Housing Committee on a quarterly basis for an update on incurred expenses compared to the budget for this current fiscal year. This concludes the presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Now we move to questions from committee members. Matt Guadalupe. I have a question, and maybe it just went by too quickly. In the MHRSO budget, the monies that we got from the city, how much of that have we returned?
Everything, we paid back everything that was collected through this year's budget.
Is that ahead of schedule?
No, the city advanced us money in April, May of last year because we had not received any fees from
Right.
the mobile home parks. We received that actually in June and July of last year for fees for last year. And so that is all included and charged back in this fiscal year's budget.
Wow, because the implementations started in October of 22, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, that answers.
No, actually 21.
21?
Yes, 21.
Wow. Time flies. Yeah.
I know.
It was a long time coming, but time flies. Okay, that was my only question. Since there are no more questions, I now invite public comment. In-person public comments will be called it to speak first. Any member of the public wishing to provide virtual comment on this item, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. Staff will display a countdown timer on the screen. Andrea, are there any folks on the line?
Looks like there are no speakers.
This is going to be the fastest meeting on record. Next, we will go into committee deliberations and provide feedback. I guess there are no deliberations. Thank you, committee members and staff. We will now move to committee staff announcements and updates. I will hand it back to staff for some presentations.
Thank you. Right, well, so we'll start with agenda item 9.1, which is upcoming workshops and outreach events. So we like to start off here by talking about the Housing and Eviction Help Center that is continuing on, where both landlords and tenants and mobile home park owners can all come to learn about housing programs, specifically rent stabilization programs, but we also help with affordable housing programs and connect people with rent assistance. And for some people, we're still checking on their rent relief applications for COVID-19, but not as many of those these days. We can also help people learn about eviction help, and we provide on-site virtual legal assistance for terminations and other types of housing-related issues. We also have connections with other support services like food distribution, other types of financial assistance, our mediation program, other homelessness prevention services, and much more. For example, at our last Housing and Eviction Help Center, we had a free phone provider coming where people could sign up and have access to free phone plans. And the phones have internet access and they are smartphones. So that was very nice. And they will be back next Housing and Eviction Help Center as well. These are held every first and third Thursday in the Mountain View Public Library. We are on the second floor program room and we're there from 1 to 5. If you can't come in person, you can also join virtually at mountainview.gov/eviction help clinics. All right, now we'll take a look at our office hours and workshops. So we do still hold virtual office hours every Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And the link for that is mountainview.gov/RSP office hours. That stands for Rent Stabilization Program office hours. So you can make an appointment there or just join us. They're basically virtual walk-in and ask us any type of rent stabilization question. Our upcoming workshops, we are starting our rounds of our mobile home rent stabilization ordinance workshops. So the first one will be this Thursday, March 30th. It starts at 6:30 p.m. and we will be visiting each park. So this Thursday we'll be at Sahara Mobile Village. And then you'll see right underneath that on April 13th, we'll be at Santiago Villa. And then just to wrap up April, on April 20th, we are having a health and safe housing workshop as part of our Housing and Eviction Help Center. And that one will be hybrid. It will be at the Housing and Eviction Help Center at the library and also on Zoom. And you can sign up there, mountainview.gov/RSP webinars. And then just for some outreach information, our team will be at CSA on April 3rd from 1 to 4. So while they're doing food distribution, we pass out information to the community about our program, as well as April 19th from 2 to 4 at Castro Mistral Elementary. And then we have a fun event coming up April 28th from 3 to 6:30, which is a Friday, and it's called Dia del Niño. And so that will be a nice event at the elementary school, and that's at Gabriel Mistral. That's some of our outreach coming up for the next month. And I believe that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Didn't put. Are there any questions or comments from committee members? Not seeing any. Are we actually at adjournment? This meeting is adjourned at 7:37 p.m. The next Rental Housing Committee meeting with all the new members is scheduled to be held on Monday, April 24th, 2023 at 7 p.m. 2023 at 7 p.m.